Welcome to the Expert's Journey podcast, where we're all about creating your path to impact. Join your hosts, Dixie Mary Carlton from Indie Experts Publishing and Mr. Web Marketing Brad Houck, as we look at how you can grow your business and influence by leveraging your knowledge for profit. Okay, welcome back to the Expert's Journey. This week, we're going to look at using your book as a foundation for a highly profitable online course. And so in this episode, we're going to look at how you can turn your book's content into an engaging course. You can expand your reach and boost your income by offering even greater value to your audience. Hi, Dixie.
Hey, Brad. How are you going this week?
I'm good, thanks.
Excellent.
So, obviously, a book is a great starting point for so many products. And the choice is which way to go. So, if a book comes out, just say it's under $30. It's $30 in your hand every time you sell one, plus, minus printing costs, all those sorts of things. It really is only $30, which is great, but you can't live on $30. So we need to be able to take that content. There's so much content, so powerful, and turn it into larger priced items. And one of the quickest ways we can do that is obviously turning it into a course. As an expert in the topic, it's easy to just take that content and create some courses from it and sell that to the audience who's bought the book.
Yeah. But, whether you're doing an online course or a workshop course or a program that, has months of time and input versus something that's just going to be something you teach in half a day or a few hours, is going to rely on different kinds of information and how you structure it. And again, if you come back to the whole concept of structure being so important and having identified what your content is and your structure should be for the delivery of that content via your book, it makes it so much easier to then scale it up or down depending on what it is that you're wanting to do, what you want people to achieve with that. Again, I come back to the fact that if you start with the draft of your book and you map out where things go, what information you're going to share, even in a book that might take, let's say, 4 hours to read as an audio book or listen to it as an audio book, that is still going to be only a snippet of what you can put into a program that might take several weeks or several hours to deliver. So again, you start with the draft, work out what you're going to sell, but talk to me about your process, Brad, because I know you have some really cool systems for how to get the ideas out of a book and out of your head into something that is a scalable model of delivery.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, as you know, my background is in education and course creation. And so for me, this is like a really important thing to do. I think you're missing out on an opportunity if you do not create a course, but I recommend people creating micro courses. And there's a whole range of reasons for this. But the first one is that the world has got faster. Everything happens faster. And no one has the time to do large courses. That doesn't mean you can't create a large course. But micro courses gives us the opportunity to kind of teach people small chunks of learning so they get a quick win. And quick wins then encourage people to move on to other things.
Well, can you define what a micro course actually is? Like beyond saying that it's smaller, what actually is a micro course?
To me, a micro course is about taking one element of what you teach and breaking that down and teaching people how to apply it. So, for example, you could say, I'm going to write a course about how to use Facebook. But Facebook is a massive animal, okay? It's got so many different bits. You could take one bit, like how to create and run a Facebook group, and create a micro course. Mind you could expand that out to 15 micro courses because there's so many elements to that, but you could take that as one. So if we were to take Run Towards the Flames, and I talk about one aspect of leadership and improving, say, communication, I could write a micro course about improving the communication with your direct people that you work with. But as a micro course, that works really well. But there's so many more elements in a book that then I can create other courses about. The problem is that when we create the ultimate course, the course that teaches everything, what seems to happen is people run out of time, or they run out of focus, or a whole pile of things. So my belief is by bringing in micro courses, and you'll see universities are doing this now. The best universities in the world are all offering these micro courses. They have different names for them, but they're offering these small, targeted, specific information courses because that's how people want to learn. So, yeah, to me, it's about taking one element and teaching it really well.
So you might, for example, if you would otherwise think that, your course could be multiple topics, you could create multiple micro courses, and instead of having one course that's teaching one particular thing, you break it right down and you might have 10 micro courses that make up the full course. Isn't that just like sort of breaking down the course into chapters? Is there a difference?
Yeah, I can see why you'd look at it that way, but realistically, they're sold as individual courses. So people can buy that element only. Whereas when you buy a course with multiple modules in it, you're buying the whole lot.
Mm.
What this allows you to do is kind of give people a win. And this is how I look at it. They learn something, they succeed, they get to apply it quickly, and then they go, that was awesome. I want to learn some more. When you give people large amounts of training, and I've watched so many people from, when I was teaching primary school through high school through, adult education, they kind of get into it, but then they get bogged down in all of this content. And it's like, am I ever going to finish this course? I mean, all you got to do is look out how many people finish a degree, for example, which has course after course after course. You can really get bogged down in learning. So by doing small ones, you can actually bundle them, as you said, like into a big course. But they have the option to buy just that chunk. The other thing that I think is super, super important is that it doesn't kill you making it. Trying to write the ultimate course is so much work. And it's daunting because most people aren't course creators. You think about it, they've written a book which covers a topic they're an expert in, or maybe they haven't written a book, but either way, they're an expert in this topic. But are they really teachers? Are they course creators? So it becomes this major production. I need video cameras. I need actors. I need this whole thing. And it costs thousands of dollars. And in the end, if you do 10 modules, people might get through 3 before they get distracted by life. And so, I would encourage people to start out with micro courses. I really believe this is just the way to go. It's cheaper. It's faster. You learn so much creating the first one that you can improve the second one 100-fold. So you become an expert at producing little courses. And then if you want to go and create a big course, you can. But most people have taught this to continue to make small ones and then bundle them, like you said.
So there's obviously a cost difference in how you sell a micro course versus a full course. How much does that impact on people's willingness to buy a course? And what sort of costs are you talking about?
Yeah, look, micro course doesn't mean cheap. And this is a key element, okay? If you're teaching something that's very valuable in a short amount of time, it's still worth $10,000 if it's worth $10,000. If it's a $50 tip, skill, then it's still worth $50. So as a microcourse creator, yes, you're probably creating courses that are at a cheaper range under the $249 mark. But it doesn't mean it can't be worth more. It just depends on your market, again, your audience. It may be a skill that can make people a lot of money, and you're taking away all of the stuff around it, and you're teaching them the specifics that they need to know. So therefore, they're not being waylaid by information that's not relevant, but they can apply it straight away. So, for example, if I was to do a little micro course on how to sell ongoing plans to businesses. So my SEO business, you sign up and I would look after your business month after month. So continuity plans is another word for this. Subscriptions is another one. There is a specific way to sell that face-to-face that works pretty well 100% of the time. If I was to teach you that and you could apply that in your business and you were selling a subscription service that was $1,000 or up to $100,000 a month, it would be worth a lot of money if you could convert 90% of the people you could stand in front of because the system works. So I think that's the differentiation here. Micro doesn't mean cheap. It can, but it depends on what you're teaching. You can use them as an entry point. We talk about stepping up sales cycles. So the $50 course, the $100 course, the $3,000 course, et cetera, et cetera. But it doesn't mean that specifically.
Well, how do you decide whether something should be a micro course or a series of modules in a bigger course? Like, is there a decision process or a methodology that you work through to come up with these kind of decisions about whether something should be a micro course?
I think for me, everything can be broken down into micro courses, of course. That's one of those things. But I think if it's one thing, so one step, one idea, that can be a micro course. So it depends on how deep you want to go, I suppose, in the end. So in my case, 99% of things could become micro courses because, again, it just comes down to giving people what they want now. And I believe that that's the key thing. The market's changing. How we consume content is changing. Attention spans have gone to nothing. So, that's how I look at it, is that if it's one concept, that can be a micro course. If it's a series of concepts, then maybe you can bundle it up.
So, for example, I'm developing a training program at the moment to teach people how to work with authors as a coach and to be a publishing and author coach. So that sort of thing I position as being, this is going to take you 10 to 12 months to go through all of the modules. But what you're suggesting is making me think that I could teach some things as micro courses for a wider community than just the people who want to work with other authors, on just a micro course on how to work out the title of your book, or how to map out just the structure of your book, or how to understand how to upload onto Amazon. Are you saying those kind of things, which I would normally, for example, I do a thing on just how to upload to Amazon and use Amazon effectively, that would be an hour to maybe 2 hours long program. Is that what would be ideal as a micro course in the way you were talking about?
Yeah, I think that would work perfectly. So you're looking at two different audiences. You've got a certification training course. So you're actually certifying people to do a particular job. And so that is a larger course. That's going to take time, and, they've got to meet certain goals and they have to demonstrate certain things as they go through the course. So that's like certification's a whole different style of learning, because you need to make sure that they can actually do that stuff. But that said, there's a whole nother audience like me, for example, that might go, okay, I've written a book, but I've got to get it on Amazon and promote it on Amazon. Oh, how am I going to do that? I see a micro course, a quick course on how to do Amazon for authors, and teaches me all the most important things to do. I'm going to jump on that. Now, I'm not your audience for a certification, because I'm not looking to go into that, but I need your expertise. So your expertise then is another stream of income for you. And doing the micro course is not onerous to do. It's quite quick and easy, because you know the stuff. And you can sell it to another audience. So it also helps build your credibility.
Well, so another question in relation to that is, when you're talking about micro courses, which might be, let's say, 45 minutes to maybe 2 hours worth of content, is there a challenge with how much free content is available on YouTube when you're trying to sell the concept of a micro course, where people will say, oh no, I'll just go on YouTube and just, watch 3 or 4 videos and that'll probably do it? Is there a big competition aspect towards getting your micro courses promoted that competes more fiercely against the free stuff that's on the internet?
Yeah, look, that's a great question. And I've thought a lot about this, actually, because YouTube is such a large market and you can teach a lot of stuff on there. I think you have to differentiate between showing someone how to do something and teaching them. And this is where I look at it. I look at it that when you create a course, I use a document that allows me to structure the course. I go through and I write out what the main outcomes, for example, is. What are they going to be able to achieve by the end of this course? And then I, create my modules, and then I have my lessons in my modules. And my lessons follow a specific format. So as a teacher, for example, I know that there is a format that we teach every teacher to use, and it's called a lesson plan, funnily enough, that is there for a reason. It is tried, it is true, and it works. And that is really simple. You do something like you might review what the last lesson was. Then you introduce the concept that we're going to cover today, and you might demonstrate that. And then you might get the class to do one. And then you might do one together. And then you might set, 5 examples or whatever, just, taking math, for example. But the same concept arrives into our world, because as course creators, I've just found most people tend to put the content out there, and it's like, some text and a video, and, oh, yeah, you're qualified. But I believe that this is where microcourse is different, because you're developing lessons that actually take people through the learning process. You actually set tasks for them to do. You actually set homework for them to do. There's more involved than just watching the video on YouTube. And that's what I see the big difference between a microcourse or a course and something you'd find on YouTube. There is a much more in-depth learning process going on, rather than a what you call passive watching a screen and trying to take it in.
Well, you just said 2 really big, bad, dirty words. One was maths and the other one was homework. So, but I'm still here. But that's okay. The concept of homework for a micro course, what are people's expectations of having to do homework? And then as a course provider, making sure that you get that homework checked off. Do you have to think differently about that from when you're doing more than just a micro course?
Yes and no. So homework is a dirty word because everybody's had a bad experience with it at school. But realistically, homework for adults is applying what you're learning into your actual business. Mm. So you might be talking about, how to create an avatar of your perfect client, something we've talked about previously. But you're doing this exercise while you're watching the course, and you're filling this thing in. But then the homework is to go and finish that and work out what your specific avatar is for your business. So it's a continuation of the learning you're doing, or applying the learning that you're doing. So, for example, if you're doing an SEO course, you might be talking about writing titles. Your homework might be go to your website and actually fix the titles on your website. Now you've learned how to do this, go and apply it. It doesn't mean it needs to be marked. What it is it's giving people a chance to apply their learning and just take it a step further within the context that it's supposed to be being used. We watch something to be able to apply it somewhere else. Well, with this, we watch, we go through the process, we might do a worksheet or whatever in our learning to improve our learning, because when you do worksheets, you're obviously combining different elements of learning. And then you set some homework where they apply that into their business. So it's not really, old school homework that we all hated. This is their chance to take what they've learned and apply it, rather than, so many people sit and they watch a course and they go through to the end and then they go, okay, now I've got to go and apply it. Well, honestly, that's too late in most cases, because they've forgotten elements from the start and they're here. It's too far removed from when they first did it, because yes, it's a micro course. It doesn't mean it's all done in one day. They might take a week. They might take 5 weeks. It's just a concise piece of information.
So how do you know if a micro course has been successful from the point of view of you being the creator of it?
That comes down to surveying your users. You need to get feedback on the course. Putting a survey format on the last page of the course, simple survey that says, there might be a couple of fields that say, did you like this course? What was difficult? What didn't work for you? Something like that. It doesn't need to be in depth. In fact, you can even put them after each lesson if you want to. A lot of course platforms these days have like a 5-star rating system as part of the actual lesson. So people can give it a star rating and you can see that straight away. There's so many elements available to you, but you can go as far as then contacting some of the people who've done it if you want to and say, look, do you mind if we hook up in a Zoom call and I can ask you some questions about the course? It'll be private. I just need to know for myself. And you can collect feedback. And of course, finally, asking people for a testimonial is a great one. If you're getting no testimonials, you might need to look at what you're doing. But there's so many ways to collect information. The biggest thing I see is people don't bother. They just assume that stuff's great, which is fair enough. We all think we're fantastic. And I totally get that. How could I do a bad job? I am the expert on this. But it doesn't mean you've taught it the best way. And the other thing is you get people who have a different perspective on it too. So when they sit down and do it, they go, well, look, I think that'd be great for people who have an online business, but, I run a gardening business. It's not an online business. So maybe it needs some tweaking. Maybe it needs some more examples of different applications or whatever. But get that feedback, and that's where you get what you need.
That's fantastic. Given us a lot to think about today. Yeah.
Yeah, look, there's so much you can do. And I mean, micro courses, as I said, are only one step. As you said, there's certification training, which is so powerful. You can take people based on the content in your book who want to do what you do. They want to apply that and get certified. So a great one, say, Profit First. You got Profit First accountants who are trained in the Profit First way. So the book came out first, and now we have a series of different Profit First books, but we also have Profit First certification. And you'll see that across quite a few really famous books that you can get certified in the application of their methodology. And so that's your bigger course. But, the theory still applies as far as, the quality of the training goes and how you create it, even if you look at each module as being a micro course.
Well, I think coming up, we have a couple of other additional podcast episodes. One will be obviously on certification of your courses, but also I'm really interested in talking to you at another time about what kind of programs you can use or what kind of platforms you can use for developing your courses. And I know that you've got a lot to say on that, so I won't even touch that today. But you've certainly given me, and I'm hoping that all the listeners, a lot to think about in terms of that micro course concept, because I hadn't really thought about that. And I mean, you and I have worked together for a long time, but I hadn't really thought about the huge opportunity that represents beyond what we think about when we think, oh, now I need to do a course or a workshop. Because, that's got some really strong componentry for anyone who is time poor, but anyone who also has lots of components within what they have to share. So that's brilliant. Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, and look, just to come back to where we started, the $20 to $30 book, a micro course, you can produce it quickly and you can start to sell it. So suddenly your $20 book becomes a $200 micro course. And it just makes a big difference to your bottom line because, and we'll definitely talk about this one later, you can put calls to action in your book to sell a micro course. You can do so much, from stage. You can say, you can grab my book, or if you really want to know more, I've got a course that you can do. And so it just gives you another product that you can create relatively quickly, target an audience that's tied on your book or your content. Doesn't need to be a book, of course. And, quickly build in another profit center into your business. So I do love these. And, if anyone's interested in producing these, I'm, putting together a group of people who are interested at the moment, a mastermind group, but they can contact me to talk to me about that. So
do you have
great topic.
Do you have a micro course on teaching, on delivering micro courses?
Yes, I have a micro course on writing micro courses. I do. Because I don't want it to take too long. I want it to be simple. It's a simple concept. So, yes, I do have a micro course on micro courses. Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode. So if you've enjoyed our little chat, please like, subscribe, and share so that we can help other experts, speakers, and authors just like yourself get out there, build a bigger business, and, come with us on this expert's journey. So we'll see you in the next one.
Fantastic. Thanks, Brad.